last couple of weeks, we've seen a spate of terrorist attacks all over the world. Manchester, Baghdad, Manila, London Bridge, Brighton in Melbourne. And tonight, as we film this, there is a suicide bomb and shooting attack going on in Tehran.
Sure is.
And Islamic State has claimed responsibility for at least all of the attacks, except I don't know what the position is on Tehran.
No, they've claimed that.
They've claimed that too.
Manila.
Well, Manila, there's an issue about Manila. Islamic State have claimed responsibility for it. They have.
Oh, yeah.
But
Well,
the
good.
Philippines government denies that it's a terrorist attack. But maybe we can talk about that a little
fishy.
bit more
That was weird.
later.
Yeah.
So, Nick, what do you think? I mean, IS, they've sort of got their finger in every pie, it seems.
It's true.
What's going on?
I am not sure how many of these should count. I feel like there was a golden age of terror, if you will, where people put a little bit more effort into their attacks. They tried to kill en masse, they planned things, they built bombs, they did all of this kind of stuff.
They attacked state institutions.
That's right. And also the acts, I think, were usually overtly political enough that there was no doubt about why or what was happening, which is not so much the case now.
I think that's right. And certainly the attack in the last couple of days in Brighton has raised a lot of questions about whether or not that is a terrorist attack and what do you need to make it a terrorist attack?
I think we've got to raise the bar.
Well, on one view, the question, does it really matter? I mean, at the end of the day, people have died, innocent people have died, and it doesn't matter what the motivation is of the perpetrator.
It does.
Why is it relevant?
It does. Okay, look at that. Remember that guy that rampaged through Melbourne, young Jimmy, who did the thing that he did had all the hallmarks of this new DIY terror style, right? But it was basically established that it wasn't an act of terror. And yet, as a crime, it's like a carbon copy with any of the other ones. So I just think it's fucking bullshit. Look at this guy, the next guy in Melbourne, this Brighton character, right? Called up Channel 7, claimed that this was for ISIS and Al-Qaeda. They're not even friends. You know what I mean?
I know.
You could have just tacked the IRA into it as well.
I know.
I just think it's stupid.
It is bizarre.
And yet, we love to, we love to attribute these as terror attacks because it's a better news story.
Well,
Scary.
I'm wondering if it is the media that are sort of not necessarily pushing it, but aren't so upset when there is some sort of suggestion of a terrorist attack, in the sense that it gives the story much more air.
That's right.
And because the whole point of terrorism, as I understand it, is to intimidate people, for people to really, even the people who aren't directly targeted, to feel fear, then it's a way of selling stories.
Well, if you're ISIS, I don't even know why they bother to claim things anymore when the likes of Channel 7 Sunrise at the Manchester attacks will just do it for you. Let's have a look.
In the name of Allah, the merciful, the grateful, this is only the beginning. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
That was from the internet. We don't know if that's legit or not, or just some crazy person.
I don't think we really want to show that anymore because it could just, as you say, be an absolute nutter that's, looks like something out of a horror movie. So
but it is the Islamic State, though.
Well.
Yeah. So it's pretty good when two seasoned professionals of morning television like David Koch and Samantha Armitage are saying, let's not run that one again. This is clearly hokey, stupid bullshit. And yet, Seven's media people, or social media people I should say, just went ahead and uploaded that to Facebook where it can still be found, much to my amusement. And I just think, I don't know, I think the thing that strikes more terror into my heart is the idea that these people are bringing us the news.
Yeah, there is a real concern about that. I mean, it's interesting because in the case of the Brighton attack where one person was killed, interestingly, the Premier of Victoria called it an act of modern terrorism, I think is how he described it.
Fuck me.
But the Islamic Council of Victoria questioned that and noted, as you said, that the perpetrator claimed allegiance both to ISIS and Al-Qaeda, who are enemies. And the council said this, and I quote, "What we must avoid is sensationalising or somehow attributing unwarranted significance to these criminals because it exacerbates prevailing fears and tensions and potentially encourages copycat behaviour." And you sort of agree. Yeah, exactly. And you realise that and of course, usually after these terrorist attacks, whatever they are, but if they've got a Muslim perpetrator involved, then it tends to result in some form of Islamophobia, some sort of hysteria. Like there is a line. There's got to be some level of responsibility.
There's got to be a bar. I'm sorry, but you need to carry out more quality kind of attacks. I know that don't do it, but these things are just shitpot little like storms in a teacup.
Because we were talking about this, I went back and had a quick look at the coroner's report on the Lindt siege, because some of the issues that were flagged there was a question about whether or not that was a terrorist attack as such, and the coroner addressed this in his report, which was very interesting because there were a number of terrorism experts who'd come along to the inquiry and said, no, this wasn't a terrorist attack, that this was essentially him acting out of rage in relation to his personal circumstances, and he's got some sort of disorder. But the coroner actually found that he didn't have a psychotic disorder. He wasn't psychotic. He knew what he was doing.
Evil fuckwit.
He knew what he was doing. He was sane in that sense. And actually did find that it was a terrorist attack. And in that process, the coroner defined terrorism, and the way it was defined was that terrorism is violence or a threat of violence in pursuit of political change, so that one has to look at the purpose of the perpetrator.
Yeah.
And that it doesn't, even if the perpetrator has some sort of, is unbalanced mentally, that doesn't mean they might not have a political purpose. So maybe, there's a lot of complexity here.
Look, at least Monis asked for the flag. He held up the city for like 16 hours or whatever it was. That struck fear into the heart of people. And, it was very compelling television. But Melbourne, he's not even in the CBD. That's a burnout. That's not really a terrorist attack, in my opinion.
Well, whatever it is, as I said, on one view, maybe it just doesn't matter whether it's a terrorist attack or not. People are dying.
I think it does.
And,
it does matter.
Well,
it does.
I think what's interesting about it is that it obviously seems to affect the police response, like the way in which they resource it, the way in which they might address it. It seems to be that it does affect that angle. So from that perspective, it is probably important.
So if you're in Sydney, you want to hope that it's not a terror attack, if that's how they were dealing with the Sydney siege.
Well, I know, and that hopefully there'll be some improvements to the way in which they dealt with it. But
one or two.
In any event, it's obviously a complicated question, and I just thought it was interesting that even in the Lindt context, that there were terrorism experts on the one hand saying no, this wasn't terror, and on the other experts saying that it was. So it's obviously an area which has a lot of grey, and it's not so black and white.